Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us today. We are excited to talk to you about how we've integrated DTC and marketplace strategies in collaboration with our partners at Hair Club. So let's begin by introducing the panel for the session. My name is Lisa Pendleton, and I'm Executive Vice President of Strategy at Critical Mass.
And I am Joe Skarts. I'm the Chief Digital Officer, Commerce Officer at Velocity Commerce Group, which is an Omnicom agency under TPM. We'll talk more about that in just a minute.
Hi all, my name is Bill Hahn. I'm VP of Marketing at Hair Club, working out of our headquarters in Boca Raton, Florida.
Great. And we'll apologize in advance. We've had a little bit of trouble with Keynote integrating with the platform, so we're going to be presenting via PDF today. And what we'd like to do is to capture feedback and have a great dialogue with you. I'll be monitoring your questions in the chat, and we will serve them up to the panel interactively as we go along. So let me tell you a little bit about Velocity, VGC Group. It's a collaborative effort between three groups within the Omnicom network. Critical Mass, which is a full-service digital agency that is an experienced design firm that has a relentless focus on the customer. TPN, which is the creative commerce agency within Omnicom. And finally, the Omnicom Media Group, OMG, which brings sort of the power of, volume media planning and buying. Those three organizations together collaborate to deliver a holistic commerce offering that we call Velocity.
That's great. Thank you, Lisa, and hi, everybody. Again, I'm Joe. I oversee the VCG group in combination with the agencies that Lisa just mentioned. And more importantly, we want to talk about what happened at Hair Club and their digital transformation efforts as they look to solve client and consumer challenges and needs across digital channels in an effort to drive their business into a new age. Bill is going to spend some time today graciously chatting about that and chatting about the projects we work on together, even in advance of what happened last March with COVID. The Hair Club was looking to reach the consumer in new ways, one of those ways being digital commerce, and those ways being great digital experiences that marry the consumer from a digital platform to a in-store or at physical premise experience. So when Bill called, VCG seemed like the ideal solution for what was really a need to solve for complete commerce. That is something we define rather simply. I mean, the chart looks a bit complex, but it's your typical Venn diagram broken into a few different and unique ideas. And this idea is that to solve for digital commerce today, you need to be omni-channel. And in many cases, omni-channel means looking across all the different classes of trade. On the right here, you see mass, drug, convenience, specialty. We put the Walmart and Amazon logos on here, of course, because those are the top retail e-commerce destinations in the U.S. They're very important. Amazon for a long time has gotten special attention, and now for sure, some of the Walmart investments over the past 3 years have paid off for sure, and we need to take special attention when we look at them from a mass perspective and also from a grocery perspective. But for Hair Club, one of these channels stood out more than the other for expansion, and that was Amazon. We'll talk about that later in the session. But so the first thing is, how do we address our omni-channel needs? The second thing is, what are the existing e-com platforms and technologies that are in place to allow for direct-to-consumer, distributed commerce, integration of content, inventory, logistics into pure play and marketplace adventures. But then lastly, just back on that last slide real quick, Lisa. Lastly, we wanted to look at how do all these channels work together to solve particular business challenges and help drive business strategy, particularly as it relates to three areas. Number one is driving top line revenue. Number two is supporting margin. And then number three, equally as important, particularly in a marketplace environment, is protecting brand equity in an environment where you lose some control. So anyways, okay, thank you, Lisa. Next slide, please. So one more slide until we get into some of the details on Hair Club. But when we start breaking down our solutions today, we need to think about the total landscape. I mentioned these four areas in the context of the last slide, but we think about Amazon as its own sort of beast, and I think a lot of the people on this session are familiar with the uniqueness of that platform. There are the pure play sellers that are focused on ecom, and what we want to do with opportunities is to find where is their new growth, particularly over the last year. And so here we might think about like an Overstock.com or even a Groupon, but even some of the Shopify and big type of retailers or powered retailers. Same with direct to consumer. Brands need to think about how they go direct to consumer. And then lastly is omnichannel, which we spent some time talking about before. So within those channels, the functional areas that brands need to be thinking about to solve for big commerce is the overall strategy as it relates to the business, obviously, and this can go in a million different directions. We'll have a deeper conversation about that related to Hair Club. Managing the individual accounts, like for example, on Amazon, you need to physically be in the platform, making decisions, communicating with them, managing your brand. Operations, that is logistics, that is shipping and warehousing, that is thinking about reconciliations, all areas where clients that are new into e-commerce need to start solving for those challenges. We're working with a 3PL that can help them. Content strategy execution, e-commerce centric content, more important. Marketing and merchandising and media now on platforms, of course. And then lastly, analysis that drives optimization in the form of marketing science. So, without further ado, what happened when Hair Club came calling is we started to contextualize the asks that they had into those that we just looked at a minute ago. And so I want to cue up Bill Hahn, VP Marketing at Hair Club. Bill, maybe you can give us a little background on what Hair Club was looking to solve in terms of digital and omnichannel commerce over the past couple of years.
Yeah, so thank you, Lisa and Joe. With just to give you some background and context, first I'll give you 20 seconds or so on me. My background is 100% agency side. So when I came over and joined Hair Club, my challenge was across several fronts to reframe, rework, re-engineer, and where necessary, replace our agency pool of folks that we work with across virtually every vertical that Hair Club works with. Got that underway, and then we looked at the Hair Club brand. And the Hair Club brand, the Hair Club's been around for 40 plus years, and Hair Club actually is the pioneer and leader in hair regrowth, replacement, and restoration. Some of that has been brought back to life back in December when the founder of Hair Club, who some of you, depending on your age, will recall in the form of Cy Sperling. Cy Sperling really invented using TV as a direct response or direct to consumer tool. Cy unfortunately passed away this past December, but was highlighted recently in the New York Times and the Wall Street Journal in 2020 with, folks who passed in 2020. And it's really an interesting story because Cy created Hair Club to address a personal need. He had begun losing his hair and lost his hair very early in life, and filled this need of figuring out a way to put hair on people's heads. And he, if you go back and look at some of the archival stuff, his commercials, he was actually the pitch man as well. So he ended all the commercials with, I'm not only a client, I'm not only the president of Hair Club, but I'm also a client. And he would show his before and afters. So Hair Club continued on sort of behind the scenes as this well-kept secret for 40 some years, until about 2 years ago when there was a leadership change here and a new president by the name of Mike Nassar came in. Mike's immediate challenge was to reframe and refresh the Hair Club brand. So we did that. We put a lot of work into the reframing, the refreshing, checking our brand health, put a brand health tracker in place, and learned that we had a unique challenge in that Hair Club had a 70% household awareness, which is where a lot of brands would like to be. But the unusual piece was half of the people who thought they knew about Hair Club had no idea what Hair Club did, or the other 50% thought they knew what Hair Club did, but were wrong, because many were stuck in the perception that Hair Club is the place that put hair on top of grandpa's head. When in fact, Hair Club has been in the regrowth category where new players such as Keeps, Hims, and Roman have been taking advantage of the availability of minoxidil. But Hair Club has been extremely quiet. It's always been a bit of a secret, all the way down to the selection of retail footprint in the form of Class A office space. So our offices were in buildings that look much like where a law office would be, or where a dentist would be, or where a physician would be. Even when you walked into our lobbies, it didn't even say Hair Club. It said HC Consulting. So we had to really begin to figure out how to shine a light on Hair Club from a brand refresh standpoint, and bringing Hair Club from the back of the stage to the front, and create relevancy around the Hair Club brand. So a lot of work went into place. We basically changed out 100% of our agency partners, and then began looking at new growth opportunities. And, we looked at, with envy, the Keeps, Hims, and the Romans of the world that were basically selling minoxidil and topical solutions in a box sent to the mailbox. And, it was sort of a do-it-yourself at home. Playing a price game, heavily subsidized. The products themselves cost more than they were selling them for. That's not a game we play, because we have 120 locations across North America. So we have more than just a box in the mail. And our solutions in the regrowth space, like the Keeps, Hims, and Romans do, involves a lot more high touch. It involves personal consultations. It involves the tracking of your hair health. It involves the tracking of and monitoring of your hair health index, and as well as topicals, in-center salon treatments, laser treatments that actually physically require you to go into meet with folks to get the full Hair Club experience. We also have our replacement business, which is the business which is, in a sense, putting hair on grandpa's head. But we were beginning to see more females coming in, and we were beginning to see more younger males coming in. So people getting ahead of things, and we'll ride the wave of additional awareness from the folks who delivered product by mail with regard to bringing hair loss out of the closet. But we offer those in our 120 centers, and it's not just a hair piece for your head, or what we call a hair system for your head. We offer extensions, and we offer halos. We offer unique propositions like X-Strands, which is individually weaving 3 to 4 individual strands of hair to existing hair you have. So we have a lot of really cool things that no one was telling anyone about. And then we offer our surgical propositions as well, which are as leading edge as they come, and we can all imagine what those are. So as we began to look at how do we reach people differently than how Hair Club ever has in the past with our new portfolio of agency partners, came the need to pay attention to the e-commerce space. And we didn't really have, believe it or not, an e-commerce footprint at all until beginning of 2020. So we home built a Shopify. We put some products on there, way too many products, no rhyme, no reason, or organization to the mix. And we were seeing, maybe a couple $1,000s worth of sales every month, primarily from current clients who maybe were further away from a physical Hair Club location, needed to replenish a supply. And so, you know, it was a few $1,000s of retail product sales. But it was really just stealing from our current centers. And again, the numbers really weren't meaningful. Then COVID hit. And as we looked at COVID, we began shutting our centers down or dialing our centers down across the US, state by state, day by day. You can see people, you can't see people. You can bring them a box to the curb. You can touch them, you can't touch them. So our business was severely disrupted. And so we looked at, okay, there are people out there who need our products and some of our services that we can deliver if we productize them. But we need ways to reach out and touch them and do it in such a way so that we don't depower sort of the hair club experience, which is personal relationships and high touch, but use it as a quote unquote fix and an acceleration of a longer term solution that we saw being a significant part of our future. So with my agency background, I knew that there was no sort of one solution that solves all, which is why I made a call to the folks at TPN, which Velocity is a part of, because I knew their heritage in the shopper space. But I also knew through the breadth of Omnicom that they had access to a lot of folks, and I could consider whoever it was that I would be working with at TPN in my mind as sort of one back to pat, one throat to choke, and you know, one ring master at the center of the circus. So in conversations, you know, I learned a bit more about the establishment of Velocity, and that led to my connecting with Joe and his team, who were able to look at not just e-commerce from a hair club standpoint, but look at and really, again, I've been in the agency space for 30 years. I've had dozens and dozens, if not hundreds of clients. And I can honestly say there is no other company like Hair Club. And what we were able to do is have conversations with folks who understood our business and were able to help us look at each individual vertical channel of our business, add a few new ones while building on the existing ones. So that's more than 30 seconds on Hair Club, probably more than you want to know. Yes, I have a full head of hair. I'm just, I simplify my life by buzzing it with a number 2. But again, more than you need to know about me, but that's sort of the setting of the stage. You know, any questions, etc., as we go through this. You know, we didn't officially say it, but chime in, chat, raise your hand, do whatever it is you do on these things to be able to reach out to us. And we're pretty much an open book. You know, I've given Joe and Lisa the go ahead and talk numbers and that sort of thing. And then again, on any of this stuff that is of interest to you, you know, you can feel free to reach out to me at the end or over the next few weeks or so, because I'll talk to anybody that has some perspective that may be able to help us. And I will talk to anybody that our experience may be able to help.
Amazing. Wonderful background. And I think it's so important because it's a few different pieces of background that impacted how we had to think about channels. You have a legacy brand that's doing some reinvention. You have a legacy model that was evolving to include more digital properties. And then, this is not something Bill defined with marketing, but then we had to deal with COVID, which we'll talk about. So what we did way back before COVID, if we can remember, right towards the end of 2019, we started channels. The DCG team did some discovery, got the opportunity to go down to Florida a couple of times, meet with Bill and his team, extended members of the team, the CEO was involved. We started thinking about where are the growth opportunities that might exist for the brand. Number one is developing the strategy to pull these different growth areas together. Number two was we need to optimize our current digital platforms such that the core business, driving people into a center, is something that is optimized, and that's what we call CRO, obviously conversion rate optimization. But we also wanted to integrate more on-site e-commerce. So to Bill's point, Shopify was put up. It was something that was put up as a catalog of existing product rather quickly. The idea was, as we look to optimize the site, how could we take step one of what will probably be multiple steps to better integrate e-commerce into the offering? So we did a bit of that work. And then lastly, this really accelerated in March of last year, and I'll spend some time on this in a few minutes, but launch all of the hair club products, not services, but products, wet lines, shampoos, conditioners, things like that. Launch it on Amazon and create new revenue streams in the middle of a global pandemic. Now, again, we had identified Amazon as a place to be earlier for Hair Club to sort of embark on a new digital commerce adventure, but when COVID hit, we hit it really, really fast. Anything to add to that, Bill?
No, I mean, it's fair. It's, we wanted to, we were in the process of not just changing out one engine in flight, but really corporately changing out all our engines in flight. And in this case, with the way we looked at it, throwing a fifth engine on the tail of the plane. And all this is happening at one time. So,
yeah. Okay, great. Thank you. Next slide, please. Discovery. And again, this goes back to the end of 2019, but I want to set up what we wanted to accomplish with some on-site changes. And then we're going to take you into the work that was done on Amazon. So we wanted to drive people into the store, as I mentioned, or excuse me, into the stores. And that is done Club by way of an online lead form, by way of chat, and the way that is most prevalent, or at least has been over Hair Club's history, has been through the 800 number. So when we looked at site optimization, we were about how can we answer key questions that consumers, well, how can we refresh the brand to be more in line with some of the other marketing materials that was being produced? But secondly, how can we answer key customer questions, provide some modicum of personalization, do those two things to drive people to the right type of product for their need. And to do that, we look at 7 areas of optimization. Certainly the homepage, a re-architecture, changing out the primary and secondary, making the entire website a bit more mobile friendly than it had been in the past through sort of your standard flexible framework that we built in terms of responsive. But a new navigation for the entire site, not just the homepage. Looking at that tone of voice and refreshing it to what had been done with the brand previously in the months leading up to the site optimization initiative. The lead form, which so more and more work was being done to drive consumers to the website from paid search, paid social, and other. We needed more flexible lead forms to allow for that, and there's still a certain amount of work or personalization going on with those this day. Optimization of the lead form itself. Sorry, I've flip-flop 4 and 5 there, but the lead form itself, the landing pages. And so the lead form, what we wanted to do is feel not cumbersome, whether you're on mobile or on desktop. Bare minimum amount of information to qualify a lead, but move them through that experience quickly and hopefully painlessly. There was a configurator meant to create solutions for clients based on very specific needs that they might have in terms of what their hair loss challenges are. That was something that worked with another agency. It was integrated into the site and they test and learn sort of scenario. And lastly, as I mentioned at the outset, integrate e-commerce. So again, those entry points into the Shopify platform were important as we the site as a whole. So what does it all look like? Let's go to the next slide. That fine gentleman does not work at Hair Club, as far as I know, but he's got a Hair Club style set of hair. So there was some creative exploration that I had mentioned that had been done, and this is an iteration of it, but using that information, we knew, and Bill, you might want to chime in on this, we knew we were looking at a new type of target audience or an evolved type of target audience. And the new hairclub.com needed to reflect that, didn't it?
Yeah, I would hope you never find it, but if you were ever able to look at what the old hairclub.com looked like, first off, I mean, just some basic things. It was overdone with red. I mean, the logo was red. There was other red all over the website. So, one, that's an alarming color. So a lot of work went into the reframing of the brand. But most importantly was we removed, you know, sort of the cliche guy coming out of the pool wearing hair, or the guy riding the motorcycle, or the guy jumping out of an airplane, because in reality that was hurting us, because what we were doing is we were showing or we were laying the messaging that if you've lost your hair and you have to quote unquote wear hair, your hair will stay on if you come to Hair Club. When in fact, you know, when you look at where we are now, you know, the basic line that we use internally and in discussing Hair Club with folks is that if you had or have hair, and hair is important to you, then Hair Club can help. So, you know, we needed to get out of that ditch of, oh my God, I've got a problem that no one else can fix. I can come to Hair Club. You can have the most unbelievable, greatest head of hair, and Hair Club can help you keep it. Hair Club can help you make it better. Hair Club can do every single thing that your local salon does. Hair Club can do every single thing that your local barber does. We have a full portfolio of salon services and barber services and coloring and perming and everything else. And when you look at the pricing at Hair Club and the packaging of products at Hair Club, it's a pretty unique situation. You know, I saw earlier that someone was looking at, someone asked the question, how do you see yourselves comparing with Keeps, Hims, and Roman? Well, Keeps, Hims, and Roman, primarily Keeps and Hims, because Roman is a bit of a different proposition, and hair is just one of many hundreds of different channels they're going after. But Keeps and Hims are a bit more focused on hair. If you're going to go spend 49 or 59 bucks on Keeps or Hims to get your minoxidil, maybe a shampoo and a conditioner sent to your home each month, that's great. But then it's all self-care from that point. You have no support system. You have no personal trainer for your hair. And you also have, you don't have the opportunity to physically go to a location, one near you, again, 120, to get your check-ins, to get a shampoo, to get a scalp massage, to get a minoxidil application, to get a laser session, to get a haircut. So when you look at all those types of things, you know, the model that we use is that, let's say you're a 29-year-old male and you live in New York City and you get your hair cut twice a month for 79 bucks a piece. Okay, so now you're at 160 bucks a month. If you're going to do a Keeps or a Hims, you know, add your 45, your 49 to that, you're now up over 200 bucks to take care of your hair. Well, you can come in and take advantage of our EXT program for as low as $149 a month, and you get all the same things you get from Keeps and Hims, and you get a local personal trainer for your hair. You can get 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 haircuts. Get a haircut every other day if you want. You get all those services. Come in for a tricho view, which gives you your hair health index score every other week if you'd like to. Come on and chat. Come on in through our app and talk to us 24/7 about what's going on in your head if you have a question. So we actually make a case that our bundle of solutions in something as isolated as EXT, which we see competing with Hims and Keeps, actually costs you less money when you look at the total spend of taking care of what's going on top of your head. So going after a much broader breadth of people than just people who have reached the end of their ropes, maybe tried a few things, it hasn't worked, and they call Hair Club. Again, if you had or have hair and hair is important to you, we can help you.
One of the things I think about is, you know, we spent, a few months kind of on this redesign, and we're going to show you a couple pages here in a minute. It occurs to me, Bill, we could have just put you on the front of the homepage and video. Probably driven more leads maybe than we're doing now. It's a good story, it really is. And you know, when you think about the value proposition, it is something that should resonate with this audience. So let's go to the next slide and show just a few examples of what we did, and then tie it together a little bit as we begin to think about Amazon. So get the value proposition out there, love your hair, live your life, and then clearly state that this is a comprehensive hair health checkup opportunity. I mean, it's evident that this is something more than just perhaps a pill or a cream or a minoxidil type product. And Hair Club does a good job throughout the site of telling that story and directing, again, people that have in some ways self-selected, driving them to the right solution for them through the personalized hair analysis. And so you see an example form in the third piece. And then the area on the right, the far right, proven hair health solution, this is really important. And this was, when we first started engaging with Hair Club, something that was getting defined rather well by Bill and his team. And that is this notion of 3 particular buckets that the consumer might fall into for hair needs and the solutions at Hair Club. And those are the regrowth bucket, the replacement bucket, and the duration bucket. And so the idea is if we can identify which of those consumers fit into as they journey through the digital platforms, we're going to be able to make the right type of recommendation for them ultimately, down the road, which was part of what the configurator was born out of. But it's also something that impacts other areas of marketing. And I want to go to the next slide, and Bill, maybe you can talk about that a little bit, because we show some iconography work that shows all 3 of those again, so people can read. But yeah, I feel like it's an important platform to think about, not just for the website, but for all the marketing initiatives.
Yeah, actually, go back 1 page because there is an important point to make. Lisa, you know how to do that? There you go. So one of the things that's important, and we began to meet with some resistance internally with folks who have been here for a long time, and been here being, here being at Hair Club, is Hair Club had always shown clients in any time we would visually represent somebody in any of our outreach or communication. Well, so then when we began to share some of this photography and some of the layouts with folks, to say, oh, well, that person's not a client, that person's not a client, that person's not a client. So not only did we need to change the perception of people inside our company, but we needed to change the perception of Hair Club outside of the company. Every single person you see here on this screen is a Hair Club client. They use Hair Club products or services. One might use the EXT product to regrow their hair. They might use our Maxim products for shampoo and conditioners. They might use our scalp massager. Some of them might have X-strands. A female might use X-strands to fill in a part or a thinning space. None of them are wearing a hair system, but further out throughout the visualization of the folks who are in our digital platforms, there are hair wearers in there. So our own people would say, yeah, but these people aren't clients. And it's like, they use our products. They certainly are. So that was a big step. That was a big step of not putting people on our website where people would almost be expanding images to see if they could see a hairline or see if they could see adhesives or seams if they're a hair wearer, because that's what everybody unfortunately chunked down to. All of Hair Club customers wear hair. It's not the case. And our ecom has proven that. Our expansion across women has proven that, and our expansion of the range of ages of our male customers and the introductory age that they begin to come in and see us. So I just wanted to bring that to life too, because that's important as well. The idea of who is a Hair Club customer. All right, you can go to the next page, please. Okay, so one of the challenges we had that the collective helped us with was we have 27, 28, 35, depending on who you talk to, products and services that we offer, and they all have their cute, their own cute individual names, which from a legacy standpoint made sense to an image consultant or a personal consultant at Hair Club who's been with us 20 some years or so. Names like EXT, names like X-Strands, names like X-Strands Plus. That meant nothing to anyone. So like on the prior page, if someone was doing a search around hair loss or hair health, they'd come into Hair Club. But then once they came into Hair Club, you will see that we talk less and less each and every day about hair loss. Yes, hair loss is the slipperiest slope into engaging with Hair Club. But as each day goes on, we're getting more and more people interested in Hair Club in the area of hair and scalp health. But then what happens when they get in there? We had this sort of, I'll call it, dog's breakfast, let's say, of products that were just all out there that weren't organized or framed up in such a way. So we created, this configurator tool, which helped us also gather some information about folks. You know, name, first name, last name, zip code, email and or phone number, you know, traditional lead gen, lead form type stuff. But the configurator allowed us to go a bit deeper, because the configurator used readily available standardized tools and visuals that allowed us to begin to ask questions like, where do you live? What's your job? Where do you work? What does the top of your head, the side of your head, and the front of your head look like? Not asking you to describe it, but go in and check boxes, indicate, etc., against the visuals that we have in our configurator, that at the same time tells us more about yourself for our data archiving and future use. But it also will send you down one of three paths: either a regrowth path because of what you've told us about yourself, a replacement path because of what you've told us about in your situation, or a restoration path. So instead of asking you to hunt and peck and possibly luckily happen upon a solution that might be of interest to you, we're sort of herding the cats, in a sense, down a lane. And then once they go down that lane, they will learn a bit more about each of the services that we have in there, both in a video form, in a product, in a video series that we've created called Quick Cuts, and also through an animation tools for each of our products and services that take the personal component out of it, but instead use quick cut animation that helps to, as we put it, demystify the products and services of Hair Club. Our end in mind is always for you to reach out to us in such a way that you create a physical appointment at a center, because that's our holy grail, because we have our contact, lead, appointment, show, and sale metrics that we measure. But we feel as though, you know, the more involved we can get and the slipperier we can make these lanes, the better chance we're going to have to get somebody to feel comfortable to making that appointment. And that appointment comes in two forms now, one of which is come into one of our 120 centers, you know, and they all are open in some capacity. But if by some chance you're not comfortable leaving your home or meeting with people, we also can deliver about 90% of our hair consultation through virtual now. The only thing we can't do yet is our tricho-view analysis, which helps to work with the hair mass index. But we can get you 90% of the way there and have that dialogue and that relationship with you like we are here, without you having to even, you know, take your pajamas off and change.
Very nice.
Yeah, Bill, thanks for that. And the thing I find really interesting is that you're talking about using DTC and marketplace channels for selling something that's really complicated, for establishing and developing a relationship and fueling it with data, you know, capturing insights that are relevant to that person, so that whether they're engaging with Hair Club on your owned properties or engaging with Hair Club in the marketplace, you're serving up something that is uniquely relevant to them. And I think that's, you know, an important approach that's relevant certainly to your business, but also to anyone who's interested in direct-to-consumer service provision, as opposed to selling widgets.
Yeah, we don't consider success being, you know, we've traded out an in-center sale for an ecom sale. Mm-hmm. You know, they all need to be cumulative. You know, we believe things like ecom help more people, because it helps us begin to introduce them to Hair Club. And in the past, direct to consumer from a Hair Club standpoint, because we don't sell, you know, it's not like you call an 800 number or you go online and for the most part you order a product and it's shipped to your home, like a NutriBullet or you know, a Thigh Master or any of that type of crap. But I mean, it really is high touch. So, you know, we aren't looking to transform our business into direct to consumer. You know, our pure play and our significant point of difference against anybody else that plays in our space are our 120 centers, our 1,200 hair health professionals, in each, across North America and now the UK. That's our secret sauce. So, further expanding on sort of the keeps and hymns equation, we're not looking to create a solution that we can sell for 29 bucks and undercut them by $20. We have a much different model. We aren't looking for our bucket to leak faster than we can fill it, like a lot of the fly-by-night or new upstarts that are in business for a different reason, to raise VC money or et cetera. We're on a mission to expand our footprints, go beyond 120, put more people in the field so we can help more people. Because again, if you had or have hair, we can help you. And last time I checked, most people at some point in their life had hair. And the reality is 99% of people, 99.9% of people at some point in their life are going to experience hair loss or a slippage in their hair health. It's just a matter of how much and when.
How much and when.
So, our angle is to get ahead of it. And if we can get ahead of it by getting more products into people's hands, and most importantly, using those products not just as a one and done. Okay, we're selling shampoo and conditioner to somebody through our direct-to-consumer site, but use that as an opportunity, no matter how small it is. Even if we sell them a comb or a brush, that they have a great hair club experience, and hair club is educating them. And boy, I've heard there's one around me here. I should probably go in and see someone.
And as we move into future phases, we'll connect those products to the services potentially even more congruently in the future. So products married to services, and then what happens is you have products and services that are still in person, but also the opportunity for e-commerce tied to your personal needs. That's the opportunity. From a time,
and there is one more thing, and it was a curveball that we threw Joe and the team. After they initially said, "Hey, okay, we understand Hair Club. We understand the jobs to be done. We'll marshal the team. We'll pull together our scopes. Here's the timeline, etc." We said, "Oh, by the way, there's one more thing. 15% of our locations are franchisee owned." Mm-hmm. So we have to take them into consideration as well. And selling products simply by ecom is not success, because that's money out of their pocket. Even if we give them 100% of the profit from those ecom sales in their geography, it's still not a win-win. Our proposition, our outreach, whether it's to get somebody to engage with us to buy something today online or learn more about us, has to always be grounded in directing people to realize the value in that personal relationship across all 120 of our locations, the 85% that are corporate owned and the 15% that are franchisee.
Yeah, it's more than a complication for sure. And first of all, I think we should probably do a time check. I think we may be coming up against the hour in a minute here. We're doing that. Let's look at the results. And then we want to hit on Amazon quickly in the time that we have. You can see them here. Numbers are important, right? Numbers reflect business outcomes. We gloss over them sometimes because we're used to, going to conferences and hear people talk about how well they perform. But there were some great performance metrics here in terms of web form optimization, bounce rate improving, which infers deeper engagement, as does duration. Page search dropped a surge in conversion rate for the web form, but there's still work to be done. And so we're looking at potential changes in the near future. Do we have to wrap at the top of the hour? I just want to be sure I think we do, and I think that we're coming up on time here. So let's transition to Amazon, because as Bill talked about, Hair Club had a lot of work to do, a lot of new ways to go to market. One of the things we did talk about at the end of 2019 was, well, what does it look like to reach this new audience? And maybe there's a way that we can find that need our products in particular, and then drive them into a longer term relationship with Hair Club. So let's look at the most likely to help us support doing that, and also build new revenue streams. And of course, Amazon was an obvious choice due to the size of this category on their platform. So in the next slide, we'll bounce into here quickly. Well, it was funny because in December of 2019, when I met with the executive team at Hair Club, it was, let's explore Amazon. Throughout 2020, let's explore, let's dip our toe in. And then in March, came, let's get on Amazon. I think that's a fair statement, and clearly COVID drove that. So here's the good news. Here's the good news, is that it was something that was already on our radar. It was something where we already had a general understanding of how we would approach it. It just needed executed. And so given the change in priority, at least in the short term at that time, on the next slide, we were able to go through what would be a typical sort of path to launch Amazon. And these are, I'm not going to read through these, trust me, but these are some of the typical phases we look at with clients in terms of the strategy, the setup, the tactical execution of launching a brand for the first time on Amazon. There may be people on this call who have some inclination on how to do this or have done it. We needed to do it as a third-party seller. That's what made the most sense given the business conditions. And we did that all in just a couple of weeks' time. Phase 4 is ongoing, as is any good phase 4 on Amazon, where you're managing the platform and optimizing the media spend, optimizing the relationship that you have with Amazon and the end shopper. And ultimately, we're in phase 4 on an ongoing basis today. But let's look at some of the things that we did. On the next slide, we'll hear of the shop, the Hair Club shop, and it is, if we didn't build in the scroll, but it is your sort of standard template. It brings to life those new attributes of the Hair Club brand that Bill was talking about. And that's really important because when we looked at things like sponsored brand, we were able to drive people to Hair Club, allow them to sort by the different names, which Bill mentioned here, by the way. There's not a lot of equity in what some of the hair brand, like Maxim is a hair brand. There's not, or a wetline brand. There's not a lot of equity in that per se. But there is equity in Hair Club. And so when Hair Club is doing things like selling laser caps through one of their partners, or selling these Maxim hairline products, that Hair Club brand name carries a lot of weight. And what we found is when we go to products sold by Hair Club on Amazon, they are buying it. And so there were 7 major work streams we needed to execute in a short period of time: strategy, logistics, working with the internal Hair Club team, account setup, brand registry, deployment. Now we're in day-to-day management. We ultimately optimized SEO and copy and creative. This is some of what you're looking at here. And then finally, of course, merchandising and media. We're running coupons where appropriate on some products. We're doing the analysis to determine what the P&L on that is. We're looking at what's being sold on the DTC site and determining if some of those products are or are not appropriate to sell on Amazon. There is great congruency between the DTC site and the Amazon site in terms of how they're managed, how products go to market, and then how we're looking at a well-rounded digital commerce strategy. So it's been exciting, and the results have been pretty good. Sure, there's only a couple of things left. I want to hit on, and if anybody does have questions, yeah, definitely chime in. Well, we took the numbers out, but what you can see in June is that virtually there were no sales. And our strategy accelerated through the summer as the initiative grew. We began to get into this sort of really utopian situation where it becomes self-funding. And so we had success selling different products. Caps. I mean, we do have to give a nod to the fact that your higher price point items can drive enough margin. So if you're looking at a product or a SKU rationalization endeavor, I mean, anytime you can get those higher price point items on Amazon, tell the value proposition of that product through your content copy, videos, etc. That can drive the rest of your catalog. So today, as we reach November and December, and those numbers, went from the single thousands into the hundreds, I guess is a fair way to say it. What we're looking at is diversification of units and revenue. And so we don't want to concentrate revenue in any one product line. It's good to have that marquee product, though, of course, even if it's not your own branded product, in order to drive the catalog. And that is exactly what has happened on Amazon. And it's resulted in plenty of ratings and reviews on the products that Hair Club's listed, positive seller ratings for Hair Club as a seller. And then, you hear about the flywheel. And I'm not saying that, every brand works this way, but in the case of Hair Club as a seller on Amazon with its own products and some vendor partner products, they have created a nice story, in terms of building a new revenue stream on the Amazon platform that is now self-funding in the sense that we're putting in more marketing and media dollars into Amazon advertising, mostly, to help drive us up to that point of diminishing returns, which we have not reached yet on any of their product lines. So anything to add to this, Bill? It's a nice looking graph. We like graphs like this, but there's still work to do.
Yeah, I mean, you know, that I'll give you an example. That June number was like $2,000. The December number has has 6 figures attached to it, and it's fast approaching a 5 in front of 5 of those zeros.
This is your classic. We'll look back at this, I think, hopefully, and hopefully we do the work we need to do in diversifying the product or the product mix. But this is your classic COVID drove a business decision. I think the big takeaway for everybody, though, is that we were long before COVID, and it's not as if getting to Amazon is rocket science. So we're now looking at secondary and tertiary channels, and we'll determine what those are in the future. So
yeah, and again, understand that based on it being, you know, not COVID driven, but COVID accelerated. This was all on top of, as I put before, you know, changing out all 4 engines in flight. So it was like trying to drink a steaming hot cup of coffee, running with scissors on that airplane while we're trying to change out all 4 engines.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. In closing, so questions you should ask. Are you weighing an integrated digital commerce strategy across multiple channels and product lines? Think about the impact on revenue, margin, and protecting your brand. For a lot of brands, obviously, that's an issue. And then sometimes you're trading out margin for revenue. Those decisions. It is challenging in the beginning for a seller, as many of you know, to make money on Amazon, given the fees and given what you have to incur in terms of driving awareness. But it's about finding the right product mix to help you do that. Ask yourself, if you're on Amazon today, you're struggling with share on the platform. D2C might be a way to optimize that. One thing we always see is that sort of, particularly if you're a new entrant, people wanting to see your website, your brand, and that bouncing back and forth between Amazon and branded sites. You know, and then if you get to capture some of that revenue direct and create a direct relationship as a part of that, thinking about how pricing parity can work. Particularly, again, if you're a third-party seller, you have the ability to manage that pricing parity to the extent that there aren't other people selling your product, but on the marketplace. And then lastly, integrated media content strategy. The nice part is, you know, for Hair Club, we certainly did content optimization and SEO on Amazon, but because we had sort of reached this point of new brand materials being available, we were able to influence the creation of some of those materials and then ultimately put them on Amazon. So as you're rolling out new brand material, I mean, this is intuitive for a lot of folks, but it still doesn't always happen, particularly in complex multi-matrix organizations. You really should be thinking about ecom as a part of the brand content creation at the brand level. So these are questions to ask. There's many more detailed questions that I'd be happy to answer with regard to Amazon's platform specifically or DTC. But can we take any questions here at the end? If anybody has any, I'd be happy to address them. And
someone was asking, how do I get to the brand shop? So maybe Joe, you can direct them.
Sure.
You know, from an Amazon standpoint, we're just now beginning to spend some money behind it. So hopefully each day will be more and more in people's faces. But you know, hopefully you can steer some folks to take a look. And again, please don't ever look at what it was, because it was awful.
Yeah.
Look at what it is. It's better.
It's
better every day.
It's funny, Bill, when you asked me that question, I thought you were talking about how to navigate between Shop Hair Club and Hair Club, but that's a different story.
Yeah, and that's a discussion too. So
yeah, okay. No, it's you want to find one of the Hair Club products. As many of you know, these brand pages, these shop pages are primarily there as a destination for paid media. So what you're going to want to do is just search for the Hair Club brand, and you'll find that.
Thanks, Joe and Bill, and thanks everybody for joining. It's been a real pleasure, and enjoy the rest of the conference.
Thank you.
Thanks all.